तो मुझे रोना आया। मैं रो रहा था और मैं दलाई लामा जी को पूरी तरह अच्छी तरह देख रहा था कि
The movie was very good. Thank you so much for featuring it.
But even though the borders are just next to us, we casually say it's a Chinese border. So it would be nice to, acknowledge that it's a Tibet land. That would be, a visiting touch.
고대표에서 개빈들은 내가 배워 오늘 나가서 소장님 3년 사주지 굳이 체수에 이들로 아니 내가 오늘 우리 나타 나서 자가 나다 괜찮나 아니 자꾸 이제 뭐니 좀 서울에 한 달이 딱 나와서 이놈이 잡아오래 아니 네가 걔는 무슨 때문에 내가 민감한 굳이 체수에
Tadi ngata language ko chu language ki language seji longi tadi di jaga ki Himalaya ngati mai Ladakh Himachal Uttarakhand Delhi में research हुआ Uttarakhand में जेजो दिल्ली में अरुणाचल jaga ki Himalaya ngati mana 자원주의 제진이 등기 지제도에 이는 사실 나오순 속에 이번에 단단히 동안이 나단 보조 일단 등 이만 축소주 이만 축소 나가 나단 눌러요 사실 강화경선 거래 개통성 동동한 일이라는 것이 이내 장난 유학생 이내 깔기 संघर्ष इम्यूनी दे रही है दिने तर कैसा बच्चों का ये नुब्रा यानी किसकी दिखी दूसरा अरे हम ये दिने कैसा होगा ये तुर्तु संगम का तुर्तु अगले बल्कि मिली रिटला होगा जाओगे फ्रांस में होगा जना ही 프랑스 계획가 나야 마무치 그게 아니지 아니 드림 만도 동동네 야 아니 한국에 파키스탄 상점 짱파도 좋아죠 이게 진짜 그 속에 나는 결제는 한다는데 사실 단지 수술 출발라 거기 그게 주기가 주기기 주소나 개인기다 거 저희 지지 어떤 데 나다나 나냐 예림 나니 예림 타마디 드림데 로이 제슈 이 그래 드림데 아니 사마스 주주 예고기 앞에 상황 프랑이 드림데 지금 대로 지나 아니 슈가 카 뭐지 통일이 있지 근데 이제 나서 아니 드림이 케이지 이 루피가 주술지가 나무줄 아니 그냥 주술이야 주술책이 지금 공인에 어떻게 아니 룰루체 예우체 시다 그래서 우대이 뭐세요 롱이 중독되어야 가급지 인지나 없이는 내 갈수록으로서 초치 때문에 오늘 좀 쇼 갑주를 주려고 그냥 차지 스럽고 그랬어. 오늘 듣고 싶었어. 저 시험 때문에 야 만주 제주를 용 하는데 자기 고향의 수준인데 지도 능력이 내주 가리베이 세우지 시행이 있어. 계속 내가게 만족같이 만족 별로 못되지 내게라. 지금은 간다이네 서로 부수도 지로에 좀 마시는 거지 내 유식이. 근데 시바지야 먼저 전주를 용제 먼저 쉬게야 꼭좀 싸워 치료 전문이 내주 싸워 꼭좀 싸워 준비 전문이다 유망다 지바신 저의 그것도 준비했어 다 먼저 자원하고 이유 순자 수수 계획이 도나지고 우리가 계획도 내리든다 하고도 전문이 그 용리야 팔도야 야가처럼 되게 해줄 거였어 야가처럼 해줄 거였어 전문이 그 용리야 미 사야 태fi 유지요래 아주 미 지금이 맞지 않다고 했어 마마이 코코이지 예지면 전문이 미 참아 미 좋아져 좋은 참아 지금이 맞지 이때 따고 했어 이때지 네 저 지금 주동되고 그런 데는 또 오늘 뒤로 자가 아니 신점이 된다고 소소가 되나 주동이 있지 않나요? 반대편의 수업이 여러 가지 제는 뭐도 유다 뭐도 미만은 세야지 일을 시대 차이 하고 롱년이 중에 보벨이야 유배 롱년 수준한 지역 다 보면 수준한 지역 그저 수요 언제도 롱년 무슨 거라 여러 가지야 아니 루기 천상지 끝이 쉬우 여러 루기 천상지 손 가로 시청 많이 봐. 가로 국제 중앙. 어느 곳이 루기 전환지 걸리시. 어느 곳이 루기 전환지 순가 니니 내가 시대시 한번이 있어요. 만 디남디 중징이 디 루기 증에대 많이 됐다. 그러니까 본인이 디 증에 근데 또 본인 수준이 공부시는 지역을 아니 이 지나치게 에픽이라는 지휘자는 본인 수동으로만 지휘자는 무슨 도서다 다하고 문시셔 도서다 본인을 써요 본인의 찹사디 라훈 스피디 피디유라 잡혀 그냥 피디유를 조이나 니나오는 기고바요 가져고바요 피디유 토가리야 남자래 조세 주시죠 성 비디슈에 그 다나마 통솔이야 가디슈에 가리스나 본인이 통이 트란스 세바나리아 간디주 소스 본인 통이 가우중에 본인 통이 세바교수네 야우무지 내나 학교 비디지 이 공부 20접시를 가리야 그니 주주 때문에 내나 나바도 지금 수배 제 20접이라 야우무지 그것도 와 아두니야 된거 생수문이가 디디 가오지 참고 수지 무시시에 언제 제 순주라 산산기지 가가 해야 해도 요 말이 이거지 주샤 제제 수고 무시시에 근데 타면 야가야 수고 뭔가 직접 바로 아니지 아니 배우에 나가는데 디디 내가 무슨 준비고 내가 그렇지. 저는 언니 통배 대한민국에 선수하고 선수 가려고 그래. 전화점 지금 가르쳐주세요. 이제 수행이
아니 지금 수행을 좋아하지. 나 디네 드라마 산지지 여러 사람같이 랑 요리지 그 랭고 여러 사람같이 팔로우 자우 땡스틱 매제 진짜 함대지 여러 사람같이 어두나 쌤을 짱 거야 같은
To some of the comments made. Firstly, after your trip to Tibet, 10 years after that, you went to Tibet in 1987. I went to Tibet in 1997. और जब मैं तिब्बत गया था मैं लद्दाख से तिब्बत गया मैं लद्दाख चोगरम सर एसओएस में टीचर था एक साल मैंने टीचिंग किया अंग्रेजी पढ़ाया एंड देन वहाँ से म्यांमा से होके चुशुल और वहाँ से कक्षु से क्रॉस करके दूसरे बॉर्डर से क्रॉस करके मैं तिब्बत गया मैं 22 साल का था, मुझे चीन से लड़ना था, मेरा कोई डर नहीं था, मैं भगत सिंह की शपथ लेने वाला हूँ, मुझे लड़ना था, मर जाना था। और भगत सिंह की बात यह है कि every drop of blood from my death will give rise to a new revolutionary. ऐसा विश्वास रखने वाला था मैं, गया। लेकिन जितना मेरा प्लान सक्सेस हुआ इंडिया क्रॉस करने में, उतनी बुरी तरह से मैं फंस गया तिब्बत के अंदर, क्योंकि मैं पूरी तरह से तैयार नहीं था। I failed in my mission in fighting for Tibet from inside. I got arrested by the Chinese. I was blindfolded, beaten, tortured, interrogated, and they threw me into jail. 3 महीना रहा जेल में, हमारी जेल में और लासा जेल में। उन्होंने त्योमारी से लासा तक ले गए, आंखें पट्टी बांध के, और वहां टॉर्चर हुआ। और जब उनका कहना यह था कि इन्होंने भारत से आए और पेपर नहीं थे, that was the accusation, but their real suspicion was I must have been sent as a government of India's spy, and they couldn't prove that. And when they couldn't prove anything, then they sent me back to Dunse border. I surrendered myself to IDPF, Indo-Tibetan Border Force, and Indian security thought that I must have been sent back to reverse spy. I was again in Indian jail for 1 more month. So I spent 4 months in a direct sequence. And when Indian government was also sure that I had no contact whatsoever, then they released me. Then I went to Bombay to study. I did my MA in English literature and started to write. I write poetry and stories. In Tibet, in the jail, I met Tibetans who had never met with His Holiness, who did not know India supports Tibet, who did not know the kind of sympathy Tibet and His Holiness the Dalai Lama holds from around the world, and yet they don't give up. And the beauty about such people, not knowing the situation outside, is this, that they know they have to play their role. And I, as someone who is born in India, educated here, I know my role. And that is the unity of Tibet. We work from so many different parts of the world, and yet we have one goal: to beat China and regain independence of Tibet. And ultimately, we will take back His Holiness the Dalai Lama safely back to Tibet, as we brought him to India when there was a danger. In the film you had seen, he was the last person to leave. He was the last person to decide that he must leave Lhasa. Everybody else saying there's a danger of you. And his leaving Lhasa was not fear of his life. His reason why he left Lhasa was that the Tibetans were ready to fight, and the Chinese people there were ready to clamp down violently. In order to avoid this bloodshed, he escaped from Lhasa. His initial plan was not to come to India. He wanted to come to southern part of Tibet so that the tension can be quelled for some time. And when he heard this news from Lhasa that the situation is really tense and there was a bombardment, there was a bloodshed, then he lost his faith in having a dialogue with the Chinese. Then he takes his pen and writes to the government of India to seek asylum. So you see, he did not escape from Tibet to escape from death or fear. As a Buddhist, and that too, as you said, as a Buddha, and for all of us as a Dharma Guru, for him, compassion is the ultimate goal of life. I agree with many of the Tibetan youngsters who are here that our struggle is continuing. Our struggle from the outside does not look too frenzy, too visible, because we lead a non-violent freedom struggle. हम पैलेस्टीनियन जैसे बंदूक नहीं लेते, हम बाकी और स्ट्रगल जैसे जंगल में छिप के भूखा रह के बंदूक पकड़ के नहीं करते. हमें नहीं लगता है कि वो हमारे लिए सही रास्ता है. हमें यह लगता है कि परम पावन दलाई लामा जी ने हमको रास्ता दिखाया, वही हमारे लिए सच है. एक दुविधा है, there is a contradiction. His Holiness the Dalai Lama, Tibetan government in exile, talks about autonomy within People's Republic of China. And people like us, we speak for independence of Tibet, nothing less than this. And I try to understand His Holiness the Dalai Lama's, the largeness of his heart and the compassion. That he is willing to talk to China even today, after 70 years of Chinese occupation. And that's the largeness of his heart. That he has never lost the faith in people. That as people, he says, Chinese are also people. We can talk to them. He has that faith. People like us, who are common, ordinary people, we say, Hamara Desh, Hamara Azadi. And I like to think that this may be small in front of His Holiness, but this is the reality. I cannot pretend to think like His Holiness. So, हमारा आजादी की मांग जो वो चलते रहेगा. But we do it in a constructive way, borrowing language from Mahatma Gandhi ji. Constructive way, our education, our language, our culture. I believe that among the younger generations of different parts of the world, Tibetans are the ones who are most close to their culture and so very sure of their identity. Yes, mainly because this is what we are fighting for. And we are sharing it to people around the world, and particularly people in Himalayas who are our brothers and sisters. And ultimately, not taking much time, this is a journey from Ladakh to Arunachal. I've already screened this film in so many places in Ladakh. My next destination is Lahore Spiti in Kinnaur. From there I'll go to Dehradun, Almora, Nainital, Darchula तक जाऊंगा. उसके बाद कालिम्पोंग, दार्जिलिंग, गंगटोक तक जाऊंगा. उसके बाद ईटानगर से होकर तवांग, केंजामनी तक जाऊंगा जहां परम पावन दलाई लामा जी crossed into Tibet, into India. I'll go to all these 5 Indian Himalayan states to remind to all of us that we used to be brothers and sisters. There was no border among us. आज चाइना आ गया है, इसको भगाना है और हमारा भाईचारा का वो रिश्ता था उसको फिर से कायम करना है. This is my message. Don't start it. अभी तो हमने शुरू किया, अभी मुझे और 2 महीना और 3 महीने और जाना है. हाँ, और लास्ट में एक गुजारिश है, जिस तरीके से this young girl said, आप कृपा करके चाइना बॉर्डर मत बोलिए, बहुत दर्द लगता है यहाँ पर. क्योंकि अगर हम अपनों ने तिब्बत को चीन की हिस्सा मान लिया तो हम कहां से मदद मांगे. आप चाइना बॉर्डर मत बोलो, तिब्बत बॉर्डर बोलना, क्योंकि आपकी चाइना बॉर्डर बोलने से चाइना को लेजिटिमेसी मिल जाता है. और बोलेगा लद्दाखी भी मान रहे हैं कि तिब्बत चीन का हिस्सा. ऐसा तो इंडो तिब्बतन बॉर्डर पुलिस है, इंडो तिब्बतन बॉर्डर फोर्स है, ये भारत सरकार ने सोच समझ करके रखा है ताकि भविष्य में तिब्बत आजाद हो जाए. इंडो तिब्बतन बॉर्डर फोर्स और पुलिस वही कायम रखें. सो भले अभी भारत सरकार को कोई मुश्किलें होंगे, लेकिन भारत सरकार भी चाहते हैं कि तिब्बत फिर से आजाद हो जाए और चीन और भारत के बीच में ये जो बफर्स जोन है वो फिर से वापस हो जाए. ये हमारा प्रार्थना है, हमारा कोशिश भी है और हमारा सपना भी यही है. तो इससे यहीं से मैं बात खत्म करते हुए लद्दाख बुद्धिस्ट एसोसिएशन को मैं बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद कहना चाहता हूँ. ये पूरा इंतजाम उन्होंने किया. और ये सुतेन सेवांगला, मेरा आपके बारे में मेरा बहुत ही आदर है, रिस्पेक्ट है. आपके बारे में हमने बहुत जाना, जब मैं धर्मशाला से वहीं से भी आपके बारे में बहुत जाना, आपने लद्दाख के बारे में बहुत काम किया, आपने पूरी जिंदगी लद्दाख की खुशहाली, लद्दाख की डेवलपमेंट के बारे में बात किया, और आप खुद परम पावन दलाई लामा के इतना बड़ा भक्त है। तो मैं आपको खास करके नमन करता हूँ और धन्यवाद करना चाहता हूँ। सबको बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। जय हिंद, जय तिब्बत।
I would like to, extend my thanks to the organizers for filming this movie. I never thought that there would be a day like a Tibetan movie would be screened in Leh, because I'm a Tibetan born and brought up here, right? So as a Tibetan, it was very emotional. Every time you see a Tibetan movie, whether it's an escape of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, an escape of a simple Tibetans from all the way to through the Nepal, it's very emotional, it's very touching. But I want to say that, living here, there were moments that sometimes we casually forget that, of course, like Gandhi said about Tibetan insights, of course, they feel more responsible, they are the one who are more vulnerable under the Chinese occupation. But at the same time, Tibetans in exile, I think, even though it does not look that we are not even in a struggle, but people like Tenzin Tsundue always keep the struggle alive, and people like us, even though we are youth, there would be a time that we have to carry out our own life and live our life, but then there would be a time that we never forget that we are Tibetans. So it's always there, and for my Ladakhi brothers and sisters, thank you for extending support at every struggle that we have been through. And sometimes we casually, had some, for example, even though the borders are just next to us, we casually say it's a Chinese border. So it would be nice to, acknowledge that it's a Tibetan land. That would be, a precedent that as if we casually say that it's a Chinese land, that kind of discourage us also, because after all we are from a same ancestor. That's what I want to say. And thank you, Tindula. You have been a one-man army for our freedom struggle, and an inspiration to every Tibetan youth, and especially on behalf of the Tibetan youth from Ladakh. I really want to thank you, and please keep inspiring us. And thank you so much.
Then with the last response, yes, please come. Last response. Thank you. अभी जैसे डॉक्टर साहब ने सर से पहले जो यंग डॉक्टर साहब ने कुछ पॉइंट्स बताए थे, मुझे क्या लगा कि एज एन इंडिविजुअल, मुझे जैसे मैंने मूवी को अभी देखा, मेरे दिल में जो टच क्या हुआ सबसे ज़्यादा, थोड़ा मुझे आई एम एन इमोशनल पर्सन, तो मुझे रोना आया। मैं रो रहा था और मैं दलाई लामा जी को पूरी तरह अच्छी तरह देख रहा था कि क्या हुआ था एक्चुअल में। तो जब हमें जब छोटे थे तो हमें इतना एग्जैक्टली हमें पता नहीं था, बट जैसे जैसे हम बड़े हुए, हमें मूवीज हमने देखे, धीरे धीरे हमें पता चला कि लोगों से कि ऐसे ऐसे हुआ था। जब हम मॉनेस्ट्री में गाइडिंग करते थे तो ऐसा ऐसा कुछ भी हुआ। आज सर के जो आपने इतना बढ़िया हमें मूवी यहाँ पे दिखाया, लद्दाखियों को सभी हमें LBA के थ्रू, मैं आपका सबसे बड़ा मैं दिल से आपको शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहता हूँ, क्योंकि इस मूवी को देखने के बाद मेरे में भी कुछ ऐसा एहसास हुआ जैसे मैं देखता था टिबेटन्स को जो एम्बेसी के बाहर जाके चिल्लाते थे, उनके दर्द को मैं अब फील कर रहा हूँ, वैसे फील करता था, मगर आप इस हद तक जैसे कि बहुत सारे लद्दाखियों को भी वो फीलिंग्स जिस तरह फॉरेनर्स को आया हुआ, हम देखते हैं फॉरेनर्स चिल्लाते हैं, क्यों टिबेटन्स के लिए इतना चिल्लाते हैं, उनमें जो उन्होंने महसूस किया, उन्होंने नॉलेज लिया, बहुत सारे लोगों को पता नहीं होगा ये। जैसे ये मूवीज देख के जिस तरह मेरे हार्ट को टच हुआ, ऑब्वियसली बहुत सारे लोगों को हुआ होगा। इसको देखने के बाद क्या होता है, जैसे बहुत टिबेटन्स, जब हम यहाँ पे फ्री टिबेट करके टिबेटन्स चलते हैं, हम बहुत सारे लोग बैठ जाते हैं, हम यंग जनरेशन लोग भी बैठ जाते हैं,
कि हाँ जा रहे हैं, जुलूस जलसा हो रहा, मगर उनके दर्द को कौन समझे। आज मूवी देख के मैंने समझा, मैंने महसूस किया, मुझे ऐसा लगा कि मैं बाहर निकलता हूँ, मैं भी चिल्लाऊंगा कि उसके साथ मैं भी जाऊँ। अब ये मूवी देखने के बाद मुझे ये एहसास हो रहा, तो इंडिविजुअली मैं थोड़ा बहुत जो शब्द यहाँ बोलना चाहता था ये यही था। तो उन्हीं के पॉइंट्स को लेके जो लद्दाखियों में दर्द होना चाहिए, ये दर्द आता है जब ऐसे कुछ मूवीज हम देखते हैं और समझते हैं और नॉलेज लेते हैं। ऐसे बैठ के यंग जनरेशन में कुछ पता नहीं चलता, और कोई वहाँ घूम रहा है, यहाँ घूम रहा है, मगर जो दर्द टिबेटन्स में लिया, आई स्वेयर मेरे दिल को टच हुआ।
I'm Dr. Tenzin Tsundue. The movie was very good. Thank you so much for featuring it. I wanted to say that there are a lot of pains out there in Ladakh too, which are invisible. I hope someday it will come out, and we will also come above the crisis of confidence that Ladakhi Buddhists have. I wish that, like our Tibetan brothers and sisters, we also would strive for the overcoming of crisis of confidence and look for our culture and our language too. Like learn from them, like, you know. Above all, thank you so much for this opportunity. I thank you. I have your book, your autograph name, Jane. Thank you so much.
어, 얘기해.